Hi everyone, welcome back to Kids Church. I hope you've all had a great week. Did some of you have some time off from school this week? I hope if you did, you had a really good time. All right, remember for the month of February, First Baptist Church of Waterford is praying for CareNet Pregnancy Center. And so keep praying for these moms and unborn babies that go there. All right, here is our verse this month. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. John 3, verse 16. Let's say it again. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. John 3, verse 16. And remember, you can call me anytime to say your verse to me, or you can call Mrs. Ledestri, our church secretary. Just look up First Baptist Church of Waterford. I'm sure she'd love to hear from you. Our story this week is called The Man Who Didn't Have Any Friends. None. The story of Zacchaeus, and it's taken from Luke 19. There once was a man who didn't have any friends. None. Do you have any friends? Well, of course you do, but not Zacchaeus. Poor Zacchaeus didn't have any. You're probably wondering why. Was it because he was so short? That's not a reason not to like someone. Was it because that he had a name that was hard to say? Well, that's not a reason not to like somebody either. Even though he was short and he did have a funny name, that wasn't it. No, people didn't like Zacchaeus because he stole their money. Zacchaeus collected taxes. Taxes were what people had to pay the king. But Zacchaeus took more than he was supposed to and kept the extra money for himself and made himself rich. Everyone knew that he was up to it, and it made them cross and grumpy. They didn't like Zacchaeus one bit. So they made sure he knew it by doing things like avoiding him and walking on the opposite side of the street and pretending not to see him and whispering things like, "There's that nobody who thinks he's a somebody," loud enough so he could hear. There's our picture. You can see over here, they're walking on the other side of the street as him and pointing at him. Anyway, one day, a huge crowd gathered by the road. Jesus was coming to their town, and everyone wanted to see him. Zacchaeus wanted to see Jesus too, but everyone was too tall. He tried jumping up and down, but that didn't work. He couldn't see a thing. Luckily, Zacchaeus had a good idea. "I'll climb that sycamore tree," he said. So he did. He was surprisingly good at climbing trees for a man who was so unusually short that he had to take a flying leap just to get into his chair in the morning. That's pretty short. I'm not very tall, and I don't need to leap into my chair. You can see him. See all the people around him? And here's Zacchaeus right down here. Way too short to see over them. From the tree, Zacchaeus had the perfect view, all the way down the road. Another minute, and suddenly Jesus was at the tree. He stopped and looked up. Zacchaeus saw Jesus, and Jesus saw Zacchaeus. "Zacchaeus," Jesus said, "I'd like to come over your house." Zacchaeus almost fell out of the tree. Come over to his house? No one ever wanted to come anywhere near his house, let alone inside it. You can see from the picture, okay, over here, my hand's kind of in the way, there's Zacchaeus. But then Jesus, you can see, looks like he's really far down. You see that there in the picture? The people saw this, and needless to say, it made them even crosser and grumpier than usual. They mumbled and murmured and muttered, "Why is Jesus being kind to that big sinner? Doesn't Jesus know about him?" Zacchaeus scrambled down and took Jesus to his house. He was in a big hurry because he didn't want Jesus to change his mind. Perhaps Jesus hadn't heard about him. Perhaps Jesus didn't know about how he had been stealing and how no one liked him and how he didn't have any friends. But Jesus knew. He knew all about Zacchaeus and the stealing and everything, and he still loved him. Zacchaeus was ashamed. "Lord," he said, turning pale, "what I've done is wrong. But now I want to do the right thing. I will give the money back to everyone, 4 times what I stole." And that's just what he did. Jesus smiled. "My friend," he said, "today God has rescued you." Jesus loved Zacchaeus when nobody else did. He was Zacchaeus' friend, even when nobody else was, because Jesus was showing people what God's love was like. His wonderful, never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always and forever love. There it is. You can see Jesus and Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus had to stand on a stool. See him there? This story is so important because it tells us that no matter what we do, Jesus is going to love us just the way he loved Zacchaeus. I want to do my best for Jesus all the time, but I am not perfect and I mess up, and Jesus still loves me. Please don't forget that. Jesus will never stop loving you. Let's say our verse one more time. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. John 3, verse 16. Have a great week. I hope to hear from you soon. Bye.